Organized labor has rejected President Bola Tinubu's claim that an agreement has been reached on a new national minimum wage in his nationwide broadcast to mark Democracy Day. Tinubu had claimed that a consensus had been reached on the long-debated new minimum wage between the federal government and organized labor. In his national broadcast to mark the 2024 Democracy Day in Abuja on Wednesday, Tinubu revealed that an executive bill will soon be sent to the National Assembly to formalize the new minimum wage agreement. However, in a statement on Wednesday, the acting president of Nigeria Labour Congress, Adewale Adeyanju, said there was no agreement reached by the tripartite committee on the national minimum wage at the time negotiations ended on Friday, June 7, 2024. In more news, in commemoration of Democracy Day, Nigerian former representatives and citizens are addressing the quality of the nation's democracy. They are calling for a new unified Nigeria. News Central's Chidimma Ona compiled this report.
It was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was, in fact, a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation.
Democracy Day for Nigerians marks a day of the country's transition to civilian rule and its citizens' commitment to change over the years. Memorable days like this brought together Nigerian patriots and past leaders in a dialogue on the ways to secure the future of Nigeria through democracy.
First and foremost, we must all agree to have a constitution that's people's constitution, based on our values and our norms, and be prepared to defend those norms. We must also believe in the power of the people, whose responsibility it is to elect their leaders and be able to hold those leaders accountable in a true democracy.
The issue is that I think we need a new order. The present situation of things are really not encouraging, and we cannot continue to keep talking over and over and over. I think we need a new order to look at those issues critically. And I'm also afraid that under these arrangements, with the present constitution, we might not get it right.
To sensitize the country's citizens on the importance of days like this, these patriots are paying tribute to the late MKO Abiola, a Nigerian businessman and politician whose quest for democracy still inspires people. They are urging these present leaders to adopt a more transparent leadership and democracy.
I believe that if we have a new constitution that would determine the governance system, it will be easier to have transparency and accountability.
We need a new constitution for the country that will address issues. We need a constitution that will, at the end of the day, change and bring about a new order where some of us felt strongly the center is so strong that there's a need to decentralize it, so that at the end of the day, people can decide how they want to be governed.
June 12th will continually be a day dedicated to the principles of democracy, the nation's past heroes' ultimate sacrifice in the pursuit of justice, and a day to honor the late MKO Abiola.
Earlier on, we were joined on the news by President ready to lead Africa. God bless Otubore.
We have a yardstick that we're using to measure that. If you had a preset measurement scale and you say out of a 10, what would I say? We're not where we want to be, definitely. Elections have not been very, very transparent, in our realities in Nigeria. So it is important to sort of put it in perspective that we have not conducted elections the best way possible. So out of a 10, I'd say we are currently hovering around a 3, and there's still a long way to go.
Nigeria's government has unveiled plans to launch initiatives aimed at promoting youth empowerment and development in the country. This was during a program to mark Nigeria's 25th Democracy Day anniversary for youths in the country, where the Minister of Youth Development says that steps are being taken to institutionalize a 30% youth participation in governance and the nation's decision-making process. News Central's Joshua Imarai has this detail.
It's 25 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria. Nigeria's political elite and members of the diplomatic community marked the celebration at a colorful parade at the Eagle Square in Abuja. Shortly after the arrival of the president, he inspected the parade and the change of guard ceremony.
At the university and won an outstanding student award and also bagged a certificate of merit in accounting and finance.
There was also a dance display by the national troupe celebrating the various ethnic groups in the country. Some government officials present say that while the day presents much significance in the country, Nigeria has achieved much progress.
Our expectation is that Nigeria's democracy will grow stronger and stronger and afford more opportunities to everybody, irrespective of your status, tribe, or religion.
The president was very clear in his speech earlier today and was very explicit. It's about understanding the sacrifices of our heroes past and seeing that as a foundation upon which we can erect a sustainable developmental future for Nigeria.
What we have accomplished to get our act in education to produce us what will give us a qualitative education. And what we have worked in the last 1 year, I assure you that it will give us the quality education we desire. So I'm assured Nigeria will have a qualitative education back with the character, knowledge and skills.
Nigeria's Minister of Solid Minerals reflects on the sacrifices made by the nation's past heroes.
These lessons is that the ideals that we encapsulated in the Farewell to Poverty, which was the title of the manifesto of June 12. I was part of the team that crafted that manifesto in 1993. The ideals espoused in that manifesto is what this current government, led by the president, who was an integral part of it, is implementing. Now, my message to Nigerians is that there is no way you can make an omelette without breaking eggs. You cannot restructure a wobbled, distorted, convoluted economy for decades without its attendant pains and associated hardship. But it is temporary. The hardship is temporary. If we are able to persevere, be consistent with the courage and knowledge that after the gestation period of these policies, the results will begin to manifest.
Very inspiring words out there from the well-wishers of Nigeria. It is hoped that these words of advice will make Nigeria to continue to fight for the sustenance of democracy in the country. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Now to further discuss this, I'm joined by George Ashiru, Chairman, African Democratic Congress. George, good morning. Good to have you here on the news.
Yes, good morning, my brother. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. Now, George, what are your thoughts on the state of democracy in Nigeria currently, and how can the country improve its democratic institutions? And also, let's talk about the processes to better serve the citizens.
Okay, thank you very, very much. One of the things I mentioned severally during the elections of 2023 and the process leading to it is that we are still practicing democracy. It's a bit like 1 inch thick and 10 miles wide. We're in that process. So many other countries practicing it have the advantage of centuries, to perfect their craft. We're coming from feudalistic, tribalistic cultures, which still exist, and trying to have a syncretic relationship with a Western idea of what democracy is. So we're fumbling and wombling. So on one side, that is there. But I think the greatest problem we have as a nation is inconsistency and lack of continuity, even in the developmental principles of democracy. So, how do we develop the right manner of leadership? What kind of ideology? What's the vision of the nation? We haven't seen enough of the leadership of this country from across the whole country coming together to say, first, let's forget about our ambitions. Let's forget about parties trying to get into power. trying to control the resources, derivatives, and let's first talk about how do we even keep this country safe? How do we keep this country sane? How do we get people together? How do we move this country forward? You know, that's the kind of conversation that a lot of other nations have had that's made them great in the end. Singapore, South Korea, all the countries that were in the same place we were, you know, in 1960. It's because of determined, progressive, sensible leadership. And I think, like the Honorable Chinua Achebe, you know, said in one of his treatises several decades ago, the problem of Nigeria is not the topography rather, it's not the landmass, it's not the air. We are beautiful, we are sunny, this is a wonderful country. What is consistent is at the world level, we don't even have positive leadership. So not to talk about the presidential level. You know, there's just this me, people taking care of themselves. And so when they get into power, the instinct is to do the same. And so the dividends of the democracy we're looking for, it's still a generation away, I unfortunately believe.
Well, listening to you there talk about the ward level and all, but let's take it one step further. Let's talk about the youth. Now, the government has announced plans to increase youth participation in governance and also decision-making. How feasible do you think this is, and what steps do you think need to be taken to actually make this a reality?
Well, when it comes to the youths, I don't think government should be making plans for the youths without involving the youths. That's already one additional error. You know, you have to be talking to the youths, where the Bonner boys and the area stars and the Osimens and on the end of the table telling you what they want. So you can't be having a few people sitting together in one place and creating policies. We still have a 2009, I think, youth policy that most people don't know about. The Youth Council Development of Nigeria, people still don't know what they're talking about. It seems to be just Abuja-based entities doing things in Abuja, not felt in several and central local government. So I think government talking about what to do with youth and youth development should start with having conversations with youths. There should be youth summits, youth events, town hall meetings, going around, engage the youths, get them excited and be part of the process. That's really all they want. 150 million people under the age of 35 in this country. That's massive. What are we doing with that? Of course, they will want to japa. And the reason for that is they don't feel engaged. So you cannot impose policies on people anymore. It's time to start getting the policies from the people. Then you will get the policies that matters to them, not the one you think matters to them. That's where the first error is. But the idea behind it is fantastic. Once it's not politicized, once it's not the idea of, oh, let's just use the opportunity to put our children in places of, places of power. But I think, as somebody who used to be an athlete, who represented this country as a patriot, I know where it pinches my own self. And I think that engagement needs to happen where the young people are the ones telling the government, this is how you should consider adding us into governance and into nation building. That is what Minister of Youth should really, really be doing now. Engaging the people, not in Abuja, going around the whole country, calling youth summit, conferences, leadership events, and from there getting this. It doesn't matter if it takes 3 years, 4 years. The engagement the fact that they are engaged, they make them feel vibrant, make the country, the energy will be there in the air. And then next thing is we're waiting to see the implementation. And they will hold you responsible. Remember, NSAS, they will hold you responsible for not implementing what they came up with.
It's very interesting that you should actually mention NSAS. Now, when we talk about the youths, are they really willing to actually govern? Are they interested in governance at all? What can the government also do to make them interested? And what roles can they play as young people in promoting unity and also addressing the country's socio-economic challenges? These are many questions. I hope you got all of them, but are they interested, and what roles can they play? Hello, George.
Can you say that again? Yes, you repeat that?
Yes, I was talking about the youth and how disenfranchised they have been. I mean, their language is mostly just protest, and in the current past, it has been quashed quite effectively, leaving them with no other means of expressing themselves. So my question was, are they really interested in governance? And if they are, what roles can they play, that's the youth now, in the Nigerian governance system?
Of course they're interested. Frustration comes when you are not able to express yourself, when you feel you are not understood, when the people in authority are not listening to you. Look at all the members of State House of Assembly. They tend to be young people in the federal cabinet. Look at the special advisors. look at those who are elected even to the National Assembly. On average, a lot of them are also young people. But are they even engaging the youth in their own community?
Thank you very much, George, for joining us inside of the news this morning. Now moving on, former President Goodluck Jonathan has commissioned a new Edo State Civil Service Secretariat in Benin City, South Nigeria. The former president, while commending the strides of the state governor, urged leaders in other states to emulate him. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Edo State Secretariat complex built under the Governor Godwin Obaseki's administration. According to the governor, the magnificent edifice is a gift to the people of the state in honor of the past heroes who fought for democracy and good governance.
I am very, very confident that wherever General Samuel Ogbemudia in blessed memory is today, and all of those who worked with him during and after the Civil War to build Edo State, wherever they are today, they will be proud that their dreams of building a secretariat complex like this has been realized today.
Mr. Governor has transformed these buildings to modern buildings, completed them, equipped them, and he has given the staff of Edo State Public Service the enabling environment, a good working environment to motivate them.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan, who commissioned the secretariat, commended the governor for the strides made so far in the state and called on other leaders to emulate him.
Where you are working needs to be clean. Human beings need to work in a comfortable environment, just like the governor said. Even if a civil servant has nothing to do and the office is conducive, he will want to stay. Probably read his books there for those who are doing online studies instead of going home. And within that period, if something that he needs to do comes up, he will do it. Otherwise, probably it has to be the next day. So thank you for providing this befitting secretariat. And like everybody said, you don't have this setting so commonly in Nigeria. This is one of the best.
The former president also visited the Oba of Benin, where he continued his advocacy for access to quality education in the country. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Emmanuel Bagudu.
Welcome back. Now, the communal clashes in Plateau State have, over the years, been of major concern to the state and the nation at large. According to reports, more than 4,000 people have lost their lives between 1994 and now. To assess the current situation, News Central's Town Hall series moved to Jos, the Plateau State capital, where we're expecting to have government officials and affected citizens discuss the current situation and hopefully carve out a pathway for lasting peace. We're now joined by our correspondent Bernard Akede, who is in Jos, the Plateau State capital. Bernard, good morning. Good to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning, Mazino.
Great. There's a bit of a delay, but I'm going to go ahead with my question. So, Bernard, can you please tell us exactly what the level of preparedness is at the moment now, as we're expecting government officials and people who have been affected by the conflicts in Jos?
All right, Mazino, excuse me, looking around, you can see that seats are prepared already in the hall which we intend to use this morning. And we're pretty much expecting over 100 people, as many as 150, possibly 200 people to respond to our clarion call, if you want to call it. Government officials have said that they will be here. Security operatives who also are invested in the situations in the Plateau State are also going to be here. And of course, like you did mention in your introduction, concerned citizens who have been affected by, the clashes, the intercommunal and sometimes intertribal and religious clashes in and across Plateau State. We expect all of them to be here to have these conversations. Most of what we see most times is on social media and on mainstream media, but this time we want them to speak their voice and tell us their own truth.
Now, Bernard, you are correct. Every time we see anything from Jos, it's mostly on social media, so we are not exactly clear on what the state is. But you're there right now. Could you please give us an exact narrative of exactly what the state of security is like in Jos. Is it exactly safe? You've been there for now a few days. What can you tell us about the safety and environment or security in general?
Okay, so it's a good thing that we're here on the ground by ourselves to see that, as a matter of fact, the state capital, Jos, is very safe and secure. It's peaceful. It has been a peaceful town from our understanding for years, and it still is that way. Unfortunately, the clashes, intertribal, intercommunal, interreligious, sometimes usually happen around some of the cities, not exactly in the state capital. Cities like Riom, like Bokos, like Birkenladi, these are places where these clashes and, disturbances have been happening, not exactly in the state capital. So there's a wrong narrative sometimes that goes around. The first thing you hear is, there are clashes in Jos. It's not exactly in Jos, but in these adjoining cities. And this is most likely where, the affected persons are going to be coming from. So we get the actual picture, get the actual information of things that have been happening. But again, to answer your question, Jos is very much safe. My first time in Jos is really cold, but it's very safe.
Well, you should have carried a sweater. But you noted something. You said that these clashes might be interreligious, sometimes tribal or communal. Are there any other factors that you might have identified since you've been there, maybe spoken to some of the locals? A few weeks ago, there were some instances where people referred to minerals as being part of the reason why there are clashes, or real estate, or rights to certain portions of these towns that you spoke about. Are there any other factors that you've identified?
Yes, there certainly could be other factors. In the state, as we're approaching the town itself, Jos, that is the state capital, you could see portions of land that have been drilled or that have been exploited for mineral resources. Jos is, of course, a mountainous region. It's on the plateau. And so you have rocks that embedded in them are certain mineral resources. To drill these mineral resources, whether legal or illegal, people have to go into the earth, drill through these rocks, causing harm to the surface of the ground, and then, distorting the topography of the state and, and the land. Of course, there also could be, disputes concerning land ownership and certain other stuff. These things sometimes are masked within these intercommunal and interreligious clashes, while sometimes they're as open as daylight that everybody can see and understand that these are the issues on ground. So these are some of the things that we are interested in and will be looking into, seeing whether some of these little clashes, like you mentioned, or little issues are embedded in some of all these clashes that we're seeing, are masked within these clashes, or whether they are out there for in the open for people to see. And then hopefully the government officials who will be here today will address some of these issues.
Well, Bernard, thank you very much. Please, when you get back, you and I, we have to see the boss and talk to him about getting us some new Central branded cardigans. What do you think?
No, most definitely, hoodies, sweaters, and definitely cardigans.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Bernard. Moving on now, Nigeria's Minister of Works has warned contractors handling road projects around the country that there will henceforth be no more variation of projects by the ministry. The minister, David Umahi, while reading the Riot Act to contractors, says that the ministry has resolved to end variation of roads projects because it is saddled with corruption and puts citizens using the roads under undue hardship. In more news, away from that, Abia State residents have created, or rather reacted to, the recent suspension of the Commissioner for Health in the state, Ngozi Okoronkwo, over alleged misconduct. They say the governor did the right thing to have taken the bold step to enable an independent and unbiased investigation be conducted in all the allegations brought against her by various persons and groups. Some, however, advised the governor to delegate duties to his aides and not to be the only one doing everything in his government.
Engineer, and they make a health commissioner. You know, he cannot work. Health commissioner should be a medical doctor of many years practice. Not to just take an electrician, give him a health commissioner.
I think that action is timely, going by the excesses reported from her office. So that is timely. But I want to also pass a message to the governor. He should also do more to decentralize his government. We from the private sector are seeing him as if he's running a one-man show government. So he should do more to give the commissioners, his aides, power to do more.
O juru m afọ maka na ọ ga-ejikwa ndị ọzọ afọ maka na ọ bụ onye mee ihe a na-achọghị ka o mee onye asị mee ihe ziri ezi ma o meghị ya ewepụ ya were ndị maara ihe a na-ekwu ndị dịkwa redi ịgara ọha na eze ozi n'ụzọ o kwesịrị na ndị ka o kwesịrị ewere ndị ahụ tinye n'ọrụ.
Now, organized labor has been reached or have rejected President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's claims that an organized or arrangement has been met regarding the new minimum wage with the labor and TUC unions. However, well, the labor and TUC unions have come out to say no, that no such agreement has been made. Joining me inside of the studio now to discuss this is public affairs analyst Shola Omolayo. Shola, you're welcome. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Shola. Now, Shola, what's your assessment of the conflict currently going on between the president and the unions? Where exactly do you stand on this, and how exactly do you think we came to this disagreement, as we saw in the president's speech from yesterday during Democracy Day, and then Labour coming out to tell that no, we have no such agreements in place?
Would you want to trust this Labour union? Would you want to trust them? These are people that have lost their grip long in time. From the days of Bafiao, one of the former Labour leaders. They are not, I don't think they are sincere in some of their decisions. Not even when they just come up with the only thing I know they can ever fight for, and they have never been able to achieve anything about it. It's about salary. What else can they do? What else? The salary they are even talking about, they say they did not agree. What are they saying? What is the template that they are working with? Are they talking about the government alone? What is the take-home pay of the ordinary man on the street? Do they care? Do they care? The labor force of the days, they talk about Nigerians in general. Do they care? The fabric of this country that is so important, which is the educational sector, and the lecturers are crying, and the policies of our education is drilling off. What do they care to say about that? Is it about salary? Increase the salary, every other thing goes up. That's a chain. So what are they saying? Are they talking of infrastructure? What do they say anything about the decay in the health sector? I wish the dead could have an opportunity to look back, like the Latin we always say. They will have seen what these present day union leaders are doing. What are they saying? I don't think anything good can ever come out of it.
So, Shola, to summarize, are you saying that the labor and TUC unions are actually going after the wrong thing in these protests? The minimum wage shouldn't be exactly what they're pursuing. They should be pursuing policies and other things.
Nothing will happen, and nothing will happen. The government will fix based on the noise that has gone into the media, and the government will think a little bit to make it seem as if they are doing stuff, which is okay, because whatever they do is going to run down to the system. I'm telling you, it's going to run down to the system. So this labor force, okay, forget it too, and we have something better. Don't you hear what the state governors are saying already? Are you not listening to them? That okay, even if the federal government is going to peg it to a certain amount, they cannot pay. They cannot pay. They can only work with the ratio of what they are running, what the revenue they are getting from their state, which is true. Which is true. You can't be telling us that you'll be paying somebody 200,000 naira in Lagos, and you are still going to pay the same 200,000 naira to somebody who is in Osun State or Adamawa that doesn't need a problem of transport or housing.
So, Mr.
To pay
Shola,
200,000
So, Mr. Shola, where do you think the middle ground should lie? Whether 62,000 naira, 250,000 naira, what would be the compromise for the bodies involved here?
Look, Aga, no compromise. There is no compromise. If we have to be sincere with ourselves, take it to 200,000. The prices on other items will go up. It will go up. You now put those who are less privileged to a certain level of salary to pay the price. You know the numbers of people that hang in their cars to sleep in areas that is so far away from them because of transportation or because of the infrastructure of road. Do you know the numbers of people that live in Lagos? That lives in Chantis in Lagos, whereas they have their apartment in their Ogun State, in Ota. What is wrong if we have a right infrastructure? Can't you wake up in the morning by 7 o'clock and come to your work on the island and get to work by 8 o'clock, or you leave Ibadan by 6:30 and get to Lagos by 7:30 and straight to your office? We're talking of salary. We are so carried away by money, cash. We don't look at other things. What are they saying? I'm not saying they should not increase. So the outside man will say, if whatever they want to do, they do. But some of us that are not in that cadre of having an opportunity of getting salary at the end of the month, where do they want to pitch our tents? The only thing we can benefit from the government is when we have our infrastructure put in place. The light is not functioning well. Are the Labour saying anything about it? They just put that at the ambience that they should not, the discourse people should not increase the power. Do you think they really mean it when they are all beneficiary of this stuff? Trying to deceive government and bamboos and deceive the people while they're having their way? What are we saying? The roads are bad. The roads are bad. Pay these guys this amount of money. How are they going to spend it? You know the numbers of people that sleep in their offices because of transport? What are we saying?
Mr. Shola, I want to say thank you very much. Your fiery response are noted. Thank you for joining us on the news this morning. Thank you indeed.
Thank you.
Now, Argentine President Javier Milei's controversial economic reform package narrowly won parliamentary Senate approval late Wednesday after police and protesters clashed outside Congress throughout the day. The bill's 238 articles now will be addressed point by point, with full passage expected Thursday, after which the legislation would return to the lower chamber for final approval.
Por esos argentinos que sufren, que esperan, que no quieren ver a sus hijos irse del país, para esos argentinos que merecen recuperar el orgullo de ser argentinos y pensando siempre en todo por Argentina, mi voto es afirmativo a la orden del día 3724.
And Chinese Premier Li Qiang pledged greater trade cooperation during a rare visit to New Zealand on Thursday, saying differences between the two nations should not become a chasm. Li is embarking on a 6-day tour of New Zealand and Australia, key trading partners that have both expressed concerns over China's expanding influence in the South Pacific. Second only to President Xi Jinping in China's political hierarchy, Li is the most senior figure to arrive on official business in either nation since 2017. Ahead of the meeting, Luxon said regional issues that are important to both countries were on the agenda. New Zealand, long since as one of China's closest partners in the region, has become increasingly bold in its criticism of Beijing's role in the South Pacific.
Well, look, I am absolutely delighted to welcome Premier Li to Wellington for his first official visit as Premier, which also marks 10 years since New Zealand and China concluded our comprehensive strategic partnership. This afternoon, the Premier and I discussed New Zealand and China's significant and successful economic relationship. China, as you know, is New Zealand's largest trading partner, and two-way trade stands at 38 billion New Zealand dollars. And this afternoon, I also discussed with the Premier a number of issues that are important to New Zealand's interests. And as you would expect, this includes issues on which our perspectives differ. China and New Zealand have different political systems, and as with all of our long-standing relationships, it is natural that we will raise our differences with China consistently and predictably. We also discussed the challenging economic outlook and the regional and the international issues that are important to New Zealand. China's views and actions on these matters are important, and more rather than less direct engagement with China is needed on these issues.
Let's join our business desk now for today's business news.
Despite the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission's efforts to regulate digital lending in Nigeria, several unregistered loan apps continue to operate via Android package kit. Although 47 of such apps have been removed from the Google Play Store, they persistently reach customers through APK links. These unregistered apps often result to unethical practices for debt recovery, causing concern for the FCCPC. The Commission has placed 88 additional apps on its watch list and plans to involve law enforcement agencies to tackle the issue. Now, Ghana, the world's second largest cocoa producer, is considering postponing the delivery of up to 350,000 tons of beans due to poor harvests affecting the global chocolate industry. Increased cocoa prices resulting from subpar yields in Ghana and Ivory Coast are leading to higher consumer prices for chocolate. Furthermore, farmers are smuggling beans to neighboring countries to fetch higher prices. The International Cocoa Organization anticipates a 10.9% decrease in global cocoa production this season, compelling chocolate companies to draw from cocoa reserves. We also tell you that Hive Hydrogen South Africa is courting major Japanese companies for a $5.9 billion green ammonia project. Representatives from Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group Incorporated, Itochu Corporation, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Limited, and Mitsui OSK Lines Limited will visit the proposed sites to evaluate potential investments. Hive Hydrogen, a Hive Energy Limited unit, is leading green hydrogen production in South Africa. The company plans to sell its output primarily to Japan and South Korea. The project involves using a deepwater port to export ammonia, a green hydrogen derivative, with a final decision expected next year. Still in Southern Africa, we tell you that Zimbabwe is soliciting public opinions on cryptocurrency operations to inform its regulatory policy. The government has called for contributions from all cryptocurrency service providers and has formed a consultation committee. This comes after Zimbabwe's introduction of a gold-backed virtual token and a new currency called ZiG in an effort to address financial instability. Since defaulting on its debts in 1999, the country has been barred from international capital markets and is now working to restructure around $19.2 billion in debt.
Welcome back, and now time for sports. Now, Sports Minister John Eno will on Thursday morning meet with the leadership of the Nigeria Football Federation to reassess the country's campaign at the ongoing 2026 World Cup Africa Qualifier Series. Nigeria, having garnered 3 points from 4 matches, in place 5th on the Group C log, with Rwanda, South Africa, Benin Republic, who have 7 points each, are in the 1st, 2nd and 3rd positions respectively, while Lesotho is in the 4th with 4 points. Super Eagles' latest defeat to Benin Republic on Sunday in Abidjan created panics in the minds of over 200 million Nigerians of possible 2 consecutive non-appearances of the Super Eagles at the World Cup. This forced the sports minister to invite the NFF on the team's poor form. Media aide to the minister, Kola Daniel, in a chat late Wednesday night stated that the minister would meet with the NFF chiefs this morning at the media center of Moshood Abiola Stadium to assess possible ways to relaunch Nigeria's bid to qualify for the World Cup to be hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And that's all the news that we can bring you this hour. Thanks very much for watching. But first, before we go, let's give you a glimpse of the major stories we brought to you. Labour says no agreement reached on new minimum wage, and Guinea PM concerned for African migrants after far right wins European Parliament vote. And we also told you that South African opposition Inkatha Freedom Party to ally with ruling ANC to build a government of national unity. Now, do remember you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.